I just told myself when I was sitting there that I have to get better so I can go to that Chiefs game this year. Like, I have to. That was my strength.
Welcome to the Strokecast. A Generation X stroke survivor explores rehab, recovery, the frontiers of neuroscience, and how to peel a banana with one hand.
Hello, I'm Bill Monroe, and welcome to episode 168 of the Strokecast. This episode is sponsored by the fine folks at Modus Nova. To find out if Modus Nova can help you recover the use of a stroke-affected limb, visit strokecast.com/Modus Nova. November is coming up soon as I record this. For many folks in the U.S., that means Thanksgiving. For Canadians, that means recovering from Thanksgiving. For 36-year-old Arizona resident and sportswriter Calli Varner, it means the back half of the NFL season. And this year, it also means her stroke anniversary. Calli had her stroke after Thanksgiving last year and spent the following months working on recovery for the chance to see the Kansas City Chiefs play the Arizona Cardinals in September. Calli shares her journey and remarkable recovery in this episode. So now, let's meet Calli. Calli, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week.
Thank you for having me.
You've got a really interesting and unique background. So, what was your life like before your stroke?
It was pretty easy and pretty great. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm a sports betting writer and had no health issues prior to my stroke. Just living in Arizona, writing with no issues at all, working out a lot and traveling a lot, and had nothing on my radar to even think that a stroke would come into my life.
So you're a sports writer, which isn't really a traditional role for women. How did you get into that?
Well, I went to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at ASU and didn't really enjoy working too much for the media, the news stations, doing things like that. I kind of wanted something a little bit more exciting and found a job with some sports betting ties since sports betting was becoming legal out here. And it all worked. It just fell in my lap in a way. It worked really well. The company was great. And we just have a big sports following out here with the Cardinals, the Suns, the ASU, and the Coyotes and the Diamondbacks. And it just worked really well with me. It just kind of was like fate in a way. I've always been a big sports person, always followed sports, played sports a little bit growing up, but I'm a huge football fan and always followed the Suns ever since I was little. Became a Diamondbacks fan when they, started out here. So it just, like I said, it was just something that I feel like I was always drawn to. And so when sports betting started to pop up out here, they needed some writers, and it just worked out really well in my favor. So I continued to do that.
And, and it is a fascinating area for that. We have a ton of spring training for Major League Baseball that happens down there as well. And with your own background in sports and being being athletic, that just makes the stroke that much more of a surprise when that happens. So what happened that day?
I was in Lake Havasu City, which is just a couple 100 miles away from Phoenix. That's where I was born and raised. And I was visiting my parents for Thanksgiving. And everything was great that week. There was no signs, no symptoms, nothing at all. And so I had woken up that Sunday morning after Thanksgiving, and I was actually getting ready to hit the road to drive back home. And woke up feeling fine, had a little bit of numbness in my left hand, just thinking that maybe I had slept on it wrong. Got up, again, felt fine, nothing really abnormal. And I went to talk to my mom about something since I was getting ready to head home, and I couldn't really get the words out. My speech was a little bit slurred. Started talking to her. She looked at me funny, asking what was wrong with me because my speech was slurred, and I told her I couldn't really get the words out, and she looked at me, and my face was, the left side of my face was drooping. And she said, Calli, your face is drooping. What's going on with you? And I said, Mom, I don't know. My face feels really funny. I can't really talk. Something's not right. And so my dad was in the next room over and said, maybe you need to go lay down, get a glass of water. So I went to go to the restroom, and I ended up collapsing. The whole left side of my body just wasn't working. I tried to get up, and I couldn't really move. So they came in to get me. They were able to get me out of the bathroom to lay me on the floor. I was sweating profusely, but I was freezing. I didn't know what was going on. They didn't really know the signs of a stroke at that time. And of course, at 35 years old, we really didn't think that that's what was happening to me. They told me they were going to call 911 to get an ambulance to come over, and I just shook my head no. I just didn't want an ambulance. I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. So they ran next door to get my neighbors who are in the medical field to get some help and to ask kind of what was going on. They, at that time, my neighbors knew then that something wasn't right. They assumed that it was stroke based on all my symptoms, and they told my parents to call 911 right away. The ambulance came, took me straight to the hospital, and they had found that based on an MRI and CAT scans that I had a blood clot that had gone to my brain. On the stroke scale that they did, I was a 14 when I'd gotten to the hospital. We in Lake Havasu City did not have the right care to take care of me. So they gave me the TPA to slow down the blood clot, and they airvacked me to Vegas to get better care.
And it's fantastic that your neighbors recognize that and that you were able to get the TPA in time to minimize some of the damage.
I think I was in the ICU for about 4 days in Vegas and a total of 6 days in the hospital in Vegas.
That's fascinating. What do you know what part of your brain the clot was in?
It was the right side of my brain, which impacted the left side of my body, but it was the front center of my brain, and we're not really quite sure where the blood clot had started in my body, but we just know that it had traveled and went to my brain.
So they figured out that a clot had traveled in your body to that spot in your brain, blocked off those blood vessels, started killing off those brain cells, and impacting your speech and your mobility. Did your temperature sense continue to fluctuate, like when you were sweating profusely but still feeling really cold?
That stabilized, I believe. I really don't quite remember too much during much, but I do believe that stabilized. I mean, I do just remember like feeling cold a lot of the time, but
they also keep those hospitals well air conditioned.
Yes, that is true.
So they're not sure where that clot came from. Did they ever figure out, have any ideas about what had formed that? Did they find a PFO in your heart or anything like that?
They did not. They did do a TEE where they went down and looked for a hole in my heart, and they did not find one. They did put a loop recorder in, so I still do have that in to check for AFib. And as of now, nothing has come back. We're kind of still in the dark as to the real cause of my stroke.
About 15 to 20% of the time, that's they never find the answer, which
correct.
is frustrating and scary.
It is. I do have what they think is. It's like a narrow artery in my neck, fibromuscular dysplasia. So one of my arteries in my neck is pretty narrow, and it's not smooth. So I have like a carotid web at the top where it webs. It's a web kind of where it connects to the vessels in my brain, and they think that could have played a part, but that would have been something I was born with. And we just would have never known about until an event like this happens. And they think that could have played a role in my stroke. But again, I'm 35, so something like this didn't occur my whole life.
It's entirely possible that simply having living a very athletic life probably may have helped prevent that from being an issue earlier on.
Correct. Yes.
But regardless, we can't blame the mashed potatoes at the Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
You're still very new in this process. I mean, your stroke we're recording this in July, and your stroke was late November. So we are, just about 8-9 months post-stroke, less than a year out. So there's still a lot that is happening and a lot that you're learning. Do you have a favorite memory from your time in the hospital?
One of my favorite team is the Kansas City Chiefs. I've always been a Kansas City Chiefs fan since I was a little girl, since my parents and my grandparents are from Kansas, and I took after my granddad loving the Chiefs. And I just remember sitting there in the hospital watching the football games and watching a Chiefs game. And thinking to myself, because I knew that the Chiefs were going to be out here in Phoenix during the season. I knew that they were coming to play out here. And I just told myself when I was sitting there that I have to get better so I can go to that Chiefs game this year. Like, I have to. That was my strength. There was many other reasons for me to find strength to get better, but as a diehard Chiefs fan and football lover, I just watching Patrick Mahomes on the field and Travis Kelce and all those guys, like, I knew that I needed to. So fast forward now, I have friends who have season tickets to the Arizona Cardinals. The Chiefs are coming out here week 1, which happens to be the week of my birthday. And I'll be going to that game. So now that I look back, the first week of December, my stroke was on November 28th. So whatever that game was, when I was in the hospital that I was watching, it's just crazy to think back, looking that I was sitting in that hotel, or excuse me, that hospital bed, thinking to myself, I don't know if I'm going to be okay to ever go to a football game again. And now, in just a little over a month, I will be at that Chiefs game.
Well, that's fantastic. We talk about, a lot of times we talk about goal setting, and therapists in the hospital, they want to know what your recovery goals are. And yeah, it's great to have a goal of saying, yeah, I want to get better. I want to be where I was and all those things. But when you have something specific that is really deeply personal, that's the powerful stuff. I want to get better so I can go catch that Chiefs game in Phoenix. It gives us something to latch on to and to simplify the whole mass of stress and questions and medical stuff that's going on. To just have that lifeline to the future is a really great thing to have.
Yes, and then I think it helps push me, because it's like, it's not just, you have to be better to be able to get there, to climb those stairs. I mean, it's a big thing, going to a sporting event isn't an easy task. So I knew I just had to fight through everything mentally, physically, and emotionally to be able to get back on track and back to my regular life. And another goal was also to get back. I go to spin cycling classes. I was going 3 times a week before my stroke. And it's not just the physical aspect of those classes and exercise. The people there are like a family to me. And just getting back there to be with those people and to work out with those people. And now I'm back working out with them. And it's just setting those little goals has really, I think, helped me get back on the road to recovery.
That's how we get to the big goals. It's by breaking them down to find those little goals so we can get there. And I got to say, the idea of navigating a professional stadium, I mean, those staircases in the professional stadiums before the stroke, they made me very nervous trying to navigate those.
Yes.
You're able to look forward to that game coming up soon, you're able to start being in the spin class and get back to that community that is so important to you. And this is, again, it's a relatively short amount of time. What deficits do you have when you left that hospital?
I left in a wheelchair. So, I had a hard time walking a little bit. I had a hard time with my hands, especially my left hand, just like gripping things. I had a hard time with some cognitive things, like finding the right words. And I had a hard time a lot with my strength, just being able to walk on my own. And that was pretty much it. They didn't send me to physical therapy. They just gave me some things to do at my home with my legs and my hands to get my strength back and my mobility back. I worked on that a lot at my home with my parents. I had stayed with my parents for about 5 months after my stroke to get all that back, and I did. Thankfully, I was able to walk again and get my thoughts back in order. And as a writer, I was really worried about my hands and being able to type again and to get my thoughts back in order to put what I wanted to say, not just back into when I was talking, but down in my writing. And it did take a few months, but I was able to get everything back. And now I just saw the neurologist, my neurologist, about a week ago, and he said I'm pretty much 100% recovered.
What was most helpful in getting control of your words again?
I actually was just practicing doing things, writing on my own, reading things, reading up on things online to kind of help with things like that, reading books. I read a really great book by James Conner, who played for the Steelers, now the Arizona Cardinals. He had gone through cancer when he was playing in the NFL, and he didn't think he was ever going to play again. And reading self-help books like that and inspiring books like that about how people had overcome just their own tragedies and things like that. And obviously the reading helped. Useful tools like that to kind of teach myself and help myself really helped me get my cognitive abilities back. It's like if you use it, you won't lose it.
And I imagine that's similar to, the things you learned just as an athlete. You got to keep doing the practice to keep those muscles in condition, to keep those tendons and ligaments as bendy as they're supposed to be, and all of that stuff. As a non-athlete, I know I am butchering that, but...
No, but you're exactly right. And I also had a friend order me, a book for me to help me also like early on. And it was a book about like tracing letters, like the ABCs, kind of like what you did in kindergarten when you learned how to write. Mm-hmm. And that really helped.
It's about reinforcing those patterns that are still buried deep in our brains to try and sort of rebuild that index and get access to that stuff again.
And it also helped with my hand mobility as well.
Mm-hmm. So were you originally left-handed?
I was not, but I would do my right and left hand. I would go back and kind of do both of them, and it would give me the strength back in my right hand, and it would kind of help with my left hand. Because my left hand, even still to this day, I still kind of get a little bit of numbness in it.
Well, the brain is still rebuilding those connections and making sense of it all.
Yes, and that's the neurologist mentioned.
We've done all of these things before. We were just like under 3, and now we're just, it's a lot of the same thing now. It just takes a little bit longer sometimes. So you're pretty much 100% recovered now, and you're back at work. I mean, what was your experience like in returning to work?
Well, I'm very fortunate that my company was 100% behind me. They were wonderful with me and let me take, as much time as I needed. It was very hard at the beginning. So we started off slowly with me coming back, just writing a little bit of stuff at the beginning, just kind of like part-time work. And it was very stressful for me at first because I'm a perfectionist and I started off really slow. Like what would usually take me just an hour or two for a story would take me 4 hours. So I did notice that. But now I feel like I have my groove back. And now it's like nothing has really changed. So it did take a good about probably 3 months for me to feel comfortable with coming back. And I mean, it is a little bit, I do see me needing to slow down to make sure that I'm checking all the boxes with things where things would come really easy to me before my stroke. And now I do feel like I need to slow down and make sure that I'm not rushing, because sometimes I feel like I could be missing something. Like, oh, did I make sure that I, did make sure I included the photo in there or the caption right? Where before it'd be like second nature. It is a little bit of a struggle, but I know that the more and more I do it will come back to me even more.
Absolutely. And I have found in my own experience, as time has gone by, I've gotten quicker and more efficient at doing a bunch of those various projects that took me a lot longer in that first year. With your return to work then, are you traveling much beyond Phoenix to cover sporting events, or is it mostly in the local area, or is it mostly the types of things where you don't need to go on site as much?
It's mainly just in the local area. I don't really need to go on site much for what I do, but I do some things. Like I do go to the local sports books around here that have opened, and I will be going to some Cardinals practices in August. They're open practices like August 1st and August 8th. I will be out there to see the team practice. I don't do too much traveling, and I never really have, but that is definitely hopefully an opportunity in the future.
And that's super important, because I'm sure Lieutenant Dan doesn't necessarily want you going on the road all the time. So Lieutenant Dan, of course, is your cat. And how has Lieutenant Dan supported your recovery?
Yes, Lieutenant Dan definitely likes when I'm home. And he's been my number one supporter. When I got home from the hospital and through my recovery, he has not left my side. He knew something was wrong. He has been there through everything with me, and he's been the best companion and just always right there making sure I'm okay. And I just remember, because obviously I was gone in the hospital for almost a week, and as soon as I got home, I mean, that poor cat, he would not leave my side. And like I said, he's been the best thing and just always right there with me, and really like a therapy animal. And that is, I think, also very important when you go through recovery, is having something and someone and an animal like that there. Obviously, I've had a great support system with family and friends, but to have an animal like that with me has also tremendously helped.
Definitely. There's something just simpler about that relationship. You never have to worry about, are you putting him out? Are you making him work too hard to take care of you? The cat is the pet is just going to be there, with its only concern really being to the condition of its human. As you've gone through this experience, how has now your stroke experience, has that impacted the stories that you're writing about, or the other writing projects that you become involved with?
It has not impacted the stories that I write about with work or any projects like that, but I do notice that it kind of has opened more opportunities in a way. More people have heard about my stroke. I openly talk about it. I have a Twitter and I talk about it, and a lot more people seem to follow me and are interested in, I guess, in my life. They think it's very interesting that I've gone through it and I continue to live my life. And I think a lot of people look to me for inspiration. And I love that. And I would love to inspire others or help others through this that they have gone through. I mean, I always say if I can help even at least one person through this, then to me it was well worth it.
What I found, I know, is that as we always say, the stroke club is filled with cool kids. It's just the dudes really suck. Well, that's the thing. It's a chance to inspire others by just living your life and showing that this is possible by just going out and doing it.
I mean, exactly. I haven't really changed my life. I just continue to live it and, be the best version of myself. And if others can see that and feel inspired by it, then that's even better.
And that brings us to our hack of the week. But first, let's talk about sponsor Modus Nova. To get back the use of an affected limb after stroke, you have to use it thousands and thousands of times. The Modus Hand and Modus Foot help you do just that. They are robotic, air-powered, AI-controlled exoskeletons that help you get in the thousands of reps you need for recovery, all while playing video games on the included touchscreen display. The device continues to challenge you the more you use it by making things harder or easier depending on your particular ability level at that time. And Modus continues to update it all the time. To find out if Modus Nova can help you recover the use of an affected limb, visit strokecast.com/Modus Nova. Use promo code Strokecast to save 10% off your first month. And now back to our hack of the week.
I think that people just need to really feel what they feel, understand that, yes, it's a tough road, and yes, you're going to have a bunch of emotions, and there's going to be times that you feel like life may never be the same again. I mean, I felt that way. I didn't think anything was ever going to be okay, and it's okay to feel that way. I mean, we're all human, and it's very scary, but know that things will get better. Always surround yourself with a great support system and family and friends and whoever you have that will give you that inspiration and love in your life. I mean, that was my number one thing, was having that support system and that positivity in your life. Just never give up and know that it's okay that if you feel maybe a little different after your stroke. I mean, I do. I feel like I'm a new person in a way. I'm always the same Calli, but I feel like I was kind of reborn again, which is a good thing. When something impacts your brain like a stroke, there's going to be so many mixed emotions. Like I felt like I didn't know who I was during recovery. I thought I was somebody else, like trapped in a different body. And I think that's just the process of everything, of you kind of rediscovering yourself. And all of that is okay. And I always like this this quote that says, feelings are just visitors, let them come and go, and just feel them. And I think that really helped me through my stroke. And it is, you really need to feel everything and just know that at the end of the day, you're still here and you're still living. And even if things change after you recover, that's okay if you feel like you're a different person. You could be coming out better. And I feel like that's what happened to me.
So then it sounds like you've almost answered this next question already with that. And that's that, I mean, like say, we're still less than a year out, but at this point, would you say your stroke was a blessing or a curse?
I really do feel like it was a blessing. And in a very weird way. Maybe it made me appreciate life better. I feel like it brought me a lot closer to my family and friends. I always appreciated them. I always loved them, but I feel like I was reborn again in a way. It made me look at life differently. I feel like it kind of calmed my anxiety. I always suffered from anxiety. And it's really hard to explain, but I came out of this looking at things a lot differently, kind of having more confidence in a way, and maybe in the way that I view things. And like I said, I was just reborn again. And I feel like, some of my friends say I'm like a new Calli, like I will always be the same Calli, but like a version 6.0. It's crazy and it's great. And And if I'm here to help others get through something like this or a tragedy, then it's even better.
That's great. I hear a lot of folks feel that it's made me a better version of me, and it streamlined some things I found in my own life. It simply gave me a level of focus and prioritization that may have been a little scrambled before.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. I do. I feel like maybe, yes, it made me more focused on the things I need to focus on and not so, scrambled. That's a good way of putting it.
So, Calli, this has been great. I mean, if folks want to know more about you and what you're up to, where should they go?
They can follow me on Twitter at Calli Does Sports, or even on my Instagram. My Instagram is public, and I post a lot about things on there and me just living my life at SunDevil86.
And we're going to have those links available in the show notes as well. So again, Calli, thanks so much for joining us this week. It has been fantastic talking with you.
Thank you. My pleasure. And again, I think what you're doing is wonderful. So anything that can help others in the situation.
On Sunday, September 11th, 2022, the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFL journeyed to Phoenix, Arizona to battle the Arizona Cardinals. And Calli was at the game. Congratulations, Calli, on achieving one of your primary stroke recovery goals. I hope the stadium experience was everything you hoped it would be. And to top it off, Calli's Chiefs won the game 44-21. Calli's made remarkable strides in her recovery. And that's thanks largely to her hard work, her athletic background, and determination to go to that game and continue living the life she wanted. It's also a testimony to the way her family responded on the day she had her stroke. They quickly knew something was seriously wrong and, despite Calli's initial reluctance, got her to the hospital. En route, she got TPA to start breaking up that clot to reduce the potential damage to her brain and to help her brain get the blood it needed to continue, braining. And then, of course, there's the power of Lieutenant Dan, which cannot be overstated. In other news, did you know about the Strokecast gift guide? It includes books by previous guests, other stroke-related books, gadgets helpful in recovery, and gadgets from various hacks of the week. If you're looking for books or tools to make stroke life a little better for yourself or someone you care about, visit strokecast.com/gift guide to get some ideas. That's it for this week. To learn more about Calli, find links from today's episode, and see Lieutenant Dan, visit strokecast.com/Calli. Share this episode with the sports fan or journalist in your life by giving them the link strokecast.com/Calli. Subscribe to the Strokecast newsletter at strokecast.com/news. And of course, as always, don't get best, get better. Thanks a lot. I'm Bill Monroe, and I'll talk to you soon.
The Strokecast, Bill Monroe, and Bill's guests provide general information and entertainment, not medical advice. Please do not make any changes to your treatment plan or the execution of your treatment plan without first consulting your personal doctor or medical team. The Strokecast is a proud production of the Currently Speaking Podcast Network.